Hey everybody, it's John, and I'm here with the XO, with Stephanie, who is in town this weekend, and we just finished up our training year for 2018. We did. And finished up with the Armed Parent Guardian. And so I have something interesting for you guys, and then I want to discuss with you, Steph. I wanted to talk about the year that I got in training this year, which was ridiculous, a ridiculous year. You got an incredible year.
I did, kind of by accident. A lot of good opportunities came up. It wasn't intentional, but it ended up being a very good year.
And then I actually want to lay out how much it costs if you're going to train like this. So I have a list here of the classes that I took this year, what they cost, some strategies to think about for how to decrease your training costs, and I'm going to also tell you what's coming in 2019. So let's talk about it.
Today's video is brought to you by the generosity of Newbold targets. Newbold targets are self-sealing reactive polymer targets that act like steel targets for training and practice, but are safer than steel. They allow bullets to pass completely through the target without ricochet or lead splatter. Check out their links in the description and thank them for bringing us today's video.
So your training year ended up, what, over 120 hours?
Yes, just over.
And you said it happened by accident.
Kind of. We had an opportunity for us to go to Masad Ayoub's Mag 40 together, which hadn't been planned at the beginning of the year, but worked out well for all of us.
Great class.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, yeah. Really a premier class. And so that came up, and that was 40 hours right here. One of the ones I'd wanted to take forever, the Unthinkable course with Dr. William April. They scheduled that very last minute with about 10 days notice within a drive from me. So we went ahead and took that. So
now that's a South Dakota drive.
Yeah, this is true. It was a full day drive, which is normal for us. And then you hosted the two classes here this weekend, and so that worked out for us to come and do that. So several of the hours were really not on the calendar at the beginning of the year, even on the horizon, and when great opportunity came up, we jumped on it.
So I know y'all look at me like I'm some kind of raving idiot for how much I train. This is my full-time job too. This is your full-time job as well. And so you got a lot, 120 hours total in.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to tell you what I did this year, and I'm going to be honest with you on the costs on this, okay? So I got 270 hours this year of firearms training. We're firearms related, so self-defense training. Now, I'm not considering here in this cost my regular martial arts training, okay? So my membership at Attitude First Martial Arts Academy, training under Professor Robinson every week. I wish I was able to make it every week. I think I made, in addition to what I'm going to talk to you about here, I got about 40 to 45 hours of empty-handed skills. So my year started in March. I didn't get anything January, February last year, but it started in March with Steve Fisher's Essential Carbine Employment. So that was 16 hours of carbine skills, rifle skills. Now, I'm just going to break out what those costs were. Course fee itself was $450. Ammo for that, we shot about 1,250 rounds of 5.56, and so that was about $400. The hotel was a couple nights in the hotel room there, $250. I gave myself, in all these, I'm spitballing a couple of things because I didn't want to, put them all through. I gave myself basically a per diem every course, $150 for those days, and $100 in gas. I was able to drive there. It was in Southern California. So that class cost total of $1,300 for 16 hours of training, all right? In March, I went to TACCON. Now things start to get expensive. Not because of the class itself. I mean, TACCON itself was like $300 to register for.
Great value.
Incredible value on the training itself. But then, of course, I had to fly out there. So that was $400 out of Phoenix. And then I had to stay in a hotel. And I couldn't find anybody to share a hotel room with. So it was $450. Had to rent a car. Car rental cost $150. Had to eat. So again, gave myself $150 per diem. I didn't shoot a lot at TACCON this year, very little. So we only spent about $50 in ammo. And then a couple of things here and there, miscellaneous stuff where you got to buy things, another $50. So that class total cost me $1,550. Most of that in food and lodging and travel. So, but they don't do TACCON all over the country. They do it in one spot. So you got to go to it. I mean, if you're going to go and it's incredible training, you're going to have to pay. In March, I also got one day with Scott Jedlinski in his Red Dot class. I had a wedding the other day that I had to officiate, so I didn't get to do both days. But in those 2 days, the single day fee is $200 on that. Now that one was up in Prescott, so it was just a drive for me. Cost me $40 in gas and $60 worth of ammo. The cool part of classes that are super close to you is that you don't got to pay for a hotel. You don't got to pay for flights. You don't got to rent a car. You just drive your own. And I just toted my own food. So I don't consider additional costs in there because you're going to eat out of your grocery budget anyways. So best value on the schedule so far, $300 total. I also included in my time, we have an annual gathering of martial artists, and we do 20 hours of training there. And pretty incredible couple days of training, but I didn't have to pay because I was one of the instructors.
Nice.
So that's helpful, you know, and it's here in town. So we've been doing it the last several years here in Phoenix. So I slept in my own bed. I ate my own food. Yeah, I drove my own car. So that one was literally $0. Wasn't any live fire there. I'm trying to get them to let me do some live fire stuff next year. We'll see.
That'd be cool.
In April, we got a couple of hours of training at the USCCA Expo. And by that, I mean, there's all kinds of different people putting on all kinds of different classes. We went and sat in on a couple when we weren't teaching. And the nifty part of that for me was, since I was one of the instructors, they paid for me to show up. And so the whole thing really cost us nothing. They
had a really, you know, wide spectrum of topics and good speakers, and that for the people that were local to that and just paid what, you know, whatever it was, $10 or $15
$10 or something.
To get into the expo, huge value.
Huge value to that. I didn't pay anything because, again, somebody else paid for the hotel and the air and all that stuff. Okay, the biggest single expense that we had, well, the second biggest, was Mag 40 in June. So you went to that one. We all three, you, me, and Neil, went to that one together. Incredible class. It's not a cheap class. It's 40 hours. We did the 4-day version. There's a 5-day version as well. We did the 4-day version, so it's $800. I had to fly to Omaha, and so $300. I got a pretty good airfare price. Again, we didn't pay anything in hotel because our hosts actually had some rooms for us to stay in at the facility, which was amazing. And because you guys picked me up in Omaha, I didn't have to get a car. So that kept that $0. We didn't shoot 1,000,000 rounds of ammo, about 500 rounds we went through. So it's about $100 worth of ammo. We did have to buy food. And so it was over 5 days because of the travel time, $200 worth of per diem. So that class total was about $1,400. Now I'm going to tell you, I think that class is probably one of the ones that you should absolutely put on your bucket list. And if you're an average CCW carrier, you probably couldn't do better than to take Mag 40.
Sooner than later. And even though the overall fee is $800 or thereabouts, depending on who's hosting it, that's $200 a day. That's one of the cheaper nationally ranked classes. For me, that is an absolute no-brainer. And it is truly, you would probably get that $800 worth of value in about 1 day of lecture. It is that. There's not a wasted minute. It's very... just really good stuff.
Let me say it this way. When I teach classes around the country, I charge $200 a day. Masada Yub is charging $200 a day. You're a fool not to take that class, okay? I went to the Rangemaster Instructor Conference the last year as well. Now, the fee for that for me was $0 because I was one of the presenters, okay? You have to be a Rangemaster instructor for that, so I got to go on the range and get some instruction from Tom Gibbons and Lee Weems and John Murphy, and incredible instruction there. I had to get on an airplane to Atlanta. That's $500. My hotel was only $300 because I split it with a friend who was staying out there. That's a good way to do that. Car cost me $250. $200 worth of per diem. We didn't shoot a whole lot, so I only went through $50 worth of ammo. But that, again, about $1,300 total in that particular one. Now, here's some clues for you. In June, William April did his Unthinkables class with Cecil Birch and Larry Lindemann doing short knives and small improvised weapons. And that was a $500 course. But again, it's in my hometown. So I sleep in my own bed. I use my own car. I eat my own food. I don't have to get on an airplane. So the total there is $500, not a live fire class. And more to come on that. In July, we all took the Complete Combatant with Brian Hill, which is great. That class is a day and a half, and Brian undercharges, so it's only $200.
For what they offer, he absolutely does.
Now, $400 in airfare to get to Atlanta. We didn't have to pay a hotel because we stayed with Brian and Shelly.
Hotel Hill.
Yeah, Hotel Hill. And Shelly, if you watch this,
we love you so much.
Yeah, we love you so much. But our camp coordinator was a slave driver. A couple $100 worth of food. We did rent a car for $200. So that class, which is again another really fantastic class for all concealed carriers to take, $1,000 total on that one. In August, this is the most expensive one. I went to the Sig Sauer Academy for their semi-auto pistol instructor class. That was a $1,250 5-day class. That was a lot of money. Cost me $500 to fly into Manchester. $400 in hotel. It was over 6 days. I split it with a friend. $150 in rental car. Again, I split it with a friend who came with me to that. We went through about a little over 1,000 rounds there, so it was about $300 worth of ammo over 5 days. And with the per diem, $250 for the 5-day course, I spent a grand total of $1,850 getting that certification.
Even with that big price tag, you're still looking at that $250 a day for a 5-day class.
Including an instructor certification, including a cert. So that's cheap.
And that was a high-level class, really.
In September, John Lovell was in Casa Grande and invited me out. So his 1-day carbine class is actually $315, but I put $300 to make the math easier. And then about $200 for the ammo. Again, an hour-long drive. I could drive home, eat my own food, sleep in my own bed. Okay, $25 worth of gas, $525 total for a day of training with John Lovell. In October, we had what we call the Southwest Action Intensive here, which is senior ranks, martial arts stuff, and we brought in some significant folks. That cost me $150. But again, I'm here in town, so sleep in my own bed, eat my own food, do that stuff. We started in October. We started doing private lessons with Scott Jablinski. Actually, we started in November, not October. And he charges $50 an hour for private lessons virtually. And so far, we've done several of those. We should get about 4 of them by the end of the year. So that's $200. In December, first week in December, my friend Matt Hott taught what he calls his Gauge Clinic. Wasn't quite a class yet. He's not charging students for that. I got invited to it. So the fee for that was $0. Matt, if you watch this, that's the last time you do that for free. That class is absolutely worth money.
Is he developing it? Is that what?
Yeah, he's trying to get where he feels competent. Now, of course, he's mentored by his dad, Rob Hott, who is one of the most accomplished shotgun instructors in the world. So I think if you're comparing yourself there, he's like, gosh, I'm not my dad. I don't want to do that yet.
Right.
Dude.
Well, I would take a class from Matt any day of the week.
And pay for it.
And if he does it again, I'll come out and do it. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and it was in Prescott, so I could drive up. Cost me $40 in gas, $40 in ammo. We just went through some birdshot in the shotgun. So that was $80. It was just very little. Yeah, I could drive up, drive back. In December, Ernest Langdon taught his tactical pistol skills class in Casa Grande. You notice that I'm trying to kind of stay in town more. The fee for that class, 2-day class, was $500. You can go on Ernest's website. He's teaching a few of them next year. $50 worth of gas there and back. $200 worth of ammo. Went through about 1,000 rounds. My hands were a little sore at the end of the day. So that was a $750 class with a world champion competitive shooter and a guy who taught concealed carry to high-risk threats in the Marine Corps for 12 years or something.
And that's unusual, isn't he? Because he wasn't in the military. Is that right?
No, Ernest was, but they don't teach concealed carry in the military much.
That's
He's teaching attachés and people who are wearing suits but overseas and they're embassy employees and those kind of things.
So that's a bit of a clue as to his
what he's doing, right? Incredible class. And then we just finished up with John Johnson's Tests and Standards. And fee for that on 1 day is $200. Ammo, we went through crazy ammo in that class. So it's $150. Again, though, here in town. So $350 for that class. Then we just finished the Armed Parent and Guardian. Course fee on that, $425, $100 worth of ammo, stayed in my own bed, drove my own car, ate my own food.
Big year. Tired talking about it.
Big year. 270 hours of instruction. Now, if you add all those dollars up, if you add up everything that John said, when my wife sees this, she's going to murder me. But hold in there. At full value, full price, and all those things, that was not counting days off from work, okay? Because this is what I do for a living. So if you had to take vacation days for that, or you're working an hourly job, so you have to sacrifice hours, it'd be something different. But for me, the cost on this, $11,680 worth of training. So if you wanted to do the year that I had this year, you need to put aside roughly $1,000 a month. Now, time out. I do want to say this. I did not spend that much money because we got some classes that I got comped because they were taught by friends of mine. They're like, yeah, come and train with me. Some that I gave in-kind donations for. So whether we did something else for them or we participated in some other way. And on several, I was the host. And that's a great way to save some money. So for instance, I hosted John and Melody here this weekend. And so the $425 course fee, they comped me a seat in the class because I hosted. So I paid in time. And the willingness to get the range and, make sure the targets were there and paced and all that stuff, cleaned up at the end of the day and those things.
And generally that would look you would be involved in trying to fill the class as well when you
Right.
host it. For people that don't understand
Yeah.
what that means, you kind of partner along with that trainer and help organize and fill that class for them.
Yeah, so of course, that's what I'm telling my friends. I mean, hello, look, I got friends. Hi, friends, you guys want to come and train?
Right? You're not planning out your classes in advance.
So if we took out that, so all of those together was about $37.75 of it. And again, some folks said, hey, John, just come train. Some folks were like, hey, you know, can we do something else in kind and do some exchanging, those kind of things. It left still $7,905 that went out of pocket. And by far the most expensive part of that was travel.
Oh, yeah.
So getting on an airplane, staying in a hotel, driving a car that's not yours and having to rent a vehicle, that's where, and eat out, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why one of the reasons I want to talk about how we can minimize that. So if you're like, dude, I want to train, but I don't have a bunch of money. So, you know, gosh, John, even $8,000. I mean, that's a ridiculous number. That's a huge bunch of money. And you go, well, how can I minimize that? I think first thing you can do is train in your town. And I get it. If you're like, dude, I live in the middle of Nowhereville. And so how do you handle that? The fact that you live in Nowhereville?
A couple of things. For one, you have to be willing to drive. You know, when people contact us and ask for help finding trainers and they complain about driving 2 hours to a class or a trainer, I just...
And you roll your eyes. You drive 2 hours to get to Walmart.
I cannot roll my eyes hard enough. To me, there's pros and cons to everything, but it is just worth it. These classes are worth some sacrifice on your part. So I do have a couple of facilities that train within about a 5 to 7 hour radius from where I'm at. So if they're doing something that lines up with my schedule, I'll just drive. And that, of course, leaves a place to stay. A couple of those ranges, like the one we were at in Nebraska, they offer lodging. And in fact, that lodging is free to students, anybody that trains with them, which is fantastic.
It's stupid. Why would you not take that class?
Yep. I mean, and it's bedrooms, showers, bathrooms, the whole thing, a kitchenette, place to eat. So that's a great benefit to us. The other thing that I do besides looking for classes locally that I can take is I look for classes where I have friends or family so that it helps ease that burden. So to come here for this weekend, we had to pay for airfare for my husband and myself, but you picked us up at the airport.
Practically in Albuquerque.
Where I could find the cheapest flight.
Good Lord.
We stay with you and your lovely family. We're kind enough to have us for guests. I didn't have to rent a car. We were going to the same class, so we can do that. So that really helped. Without that, this class would be prohibitively expensive for us and almost anybody to add in. You know, it was $900 for both of us to take it. Airfare, hotel, rental car, food. It gets to be a lot. But so I will look for classes where I have a home base. The one class we took with Unthinkable was in Denver. We have friends and family there. We did get hotel, but they were able to help out with childcare, which is another consideration that I have. So that is one thing that I do. I don't really have the option like you did to help host. There's nothing really close to where I have a community I can plug into. So that is really the way I try to save money. So
I'm telling you though, if you have facilities around that you can get in to be a host, that's a great way to save a bunch of money. So in that vein, I wanted to talk a little bit about my 2019 calendar right now. God help us, here we go. So we start off the first weekend of January with Gabe White's Pistol Shooting Solutions class. Can't wait for that.
I'm so excited to hear how that goes.
Gonna be I'm just super excited about it. I'm hosting, Gabe. That's how I'm able to afford that class. Please come here. You can stay. I'll help you. Next is I'm doing the Force Science Institute's instructor certification from the Force Science Institute. They're teaching that here in Scottsdale. Decided to take it while they're here because it's so much cheaper. Now, it's not a cheap class. It's a very expensive class, and I'm super grateful to get in. They normally don't let non-law enforcement officers into that class, but I wheedled and cajoled my way in. And again, I can sleep in my own bed. Then Steve Fisher is doing 1-day essential carbine employment and 2-day essential pistol employment here in Phoenix. And guess how I'm getting into that class?
Are you hosting
You guessed it, I'm hosting. Then we're all going to TACON.
Yep, and we have a big group of people. We got an Airbnb. We have several people. I think Jeepers, if we divided it up per person, I think it's like $70 for the entire time that we're there. And we got the Airbnb like 5 nights. We just found a house that slept 10 people, and everybody's willing to sleep in community rooms and whatever. And we have a kitchen there, so that will really save on food costs, and it's a great way for us to get really good training at a really low price.
Next one I'm going to take is Scott Jedlinski's Red Dot class. Again, it's a class that I want to take about every time he teaches it, and he's going to be in Prescott, and so I'm going to take it with him. Again, be able to drive home, piece of cake. I might end up crashing at a friend's house up in Prescott. We'll see. Rangemaster Advanced Handgun Instructor. Now I'm going to tell you, that's going to be some of the most money I'm going to spend all year, because got to pay the fee to the class. That's worth every bit of it. Got to fly there because I can't convince Tom to come to Phoenix. I haven't been able to convince him to come and do stuff here. Please, Tom? Anyway, we are, as part of another thing that we're doing, we're going to do USCCA instructor certification, because just seeing their way of doing it's a good thing. But I'm going to keep costs down there by putting that as part of classes that I'm teaching.
Yeah, we're teaching classes in between the USCCA
and then the Sabre instructor.
And the Sabre instructor certification afterwards. So we only have one set of airline flights.
One set of airline flights makes that a lot more effective. That's the next thing we're doing, Sabre instructor, Sabre Red. I am also taking Rangemaster's defensive shotgun instructor. So again, same thing though, that's going to be full price. Masad Ayub is doing maybe his last deadly force instructor, middle of the year. Yeah, I'm going to be at that one.
You have to.
I just have to. I mean, there's just no way around it. I have another one here in the Valley, Injured Shooter with Eric Tweed, who is a paramedic and a Rangemaster certified instructor. And guess how I'm getting in that one? I'm hosting. Exactly right. And then Rangemaster Master Firearms Instructor. I got into that class. Tom put that class up. I saw it on Facebook, and I saw it, and I was like, dude, that is going to sell out in a minute. And it did. In less than 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, dear, click. Oh, help me. And then I also added end of the year. He's going to be here in Phoenix. Tim Herron's pistol shooting class.
That'll be fun.
Grandmaster Tim Herron. He's fun size. And he's going to be here in Phoenix. And so I haven't worked out all the details on that. Hopefully I can maybe do some co-hosting duties and help out with costs on that. Add all that together, I got 280 hours right now on the calendar if nothing else pops up. And I really want to see if somewhere in there I can pop into maybe something like an ECQC or something like that and get one of those in. So, whew, that's what's coming. Now, would I expect you to do all this? No. I mean, gracious, if you got a job and, you know, do I expect you to say, hey, here's $8,000? No. But listen, look what the classes that ended up being really reasonable. To do the Armed Parent and Guardian, if I'm, as the host, really it cost me $100 worth of ammo. 16 hours of training for $100 and some time. Why would you not do that? You can budget that. That's $8 a month in your budget.
Yep. Honestly, I think if everybody just found one class within their local area, whatever that is, driving distance, and just budgeted for that monthly, for $50 a month, you could take an excellent class every year that would go so far to pad your training resume in case you should ever need to show that to anyone. That might be kind of important to show that you were well trained and took your responsibilities seriously.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've seen they do out in Colorado, and you guys here in Phoenix, you have kind of a group of students that kind of unofficially take these classes together. So when you go to host a trainer, you know that you're going to have 8 to 10 students ready to take that class almost immediately and work that out together. Just sort of unofficial training cadre type things. That's what we stumbled in on out in Denver, and they were talking about their new year next year and who they want to bring in and what they're doing when. And so getting a group of like-minded friends together, even from a larger area, a few hours out, I think that you could get any instructor to come to your area, provided you had facilities, if you had a group of 12 willing students.
Well, and listen, you can, so how do you find that? I've seen some people go, well, I don't know who's teaching what, when, and where. Well, the way that you do that is, first of all, use the social medias, for gracious sakes. Follow great instructors, you know, and not just anybody, but the really good ones. And they will tell you when there's things in your town. Make friends with the guys who are like, hey, this guy's teaching this class. You should come and take it with me. And see what, you know, if you can put it in the budget or you can put it in the time or whatever. And if you start saving a little bit of money, I think it's a great time to ask friends and family. Christmas is right around the corner to go, look, don't buy me something that is nifty, but I will never use. Instead, put some money in my training fund. You know, put $50 in my training budget, and you'll get to see me get better, and it'll help everybody, or something like that. Those things can help you, you know, and understanding what are the good classes to take, who's in my area, where can I get to, and make the commitment. And I'm just going to challenge you, okay? So if somebody who is a full-time job and a busy mom of a high-needs child and still got another teenager at home.
Yes.
And a grandma got work to do and still finds time to get 120 hours of training in, you can get at least one day. You can get at least one class at your local gun store or with a regional trainer that maybe you go, gosh, I can't afford $200 a day, but I can afford 150 or 125. You can do one. So let me know what classes you took in the comments in 2018 and what you're planning on taking in 2019. I promise you, we haven't put it up yet, but we're going to have on our website as well as on our Facebook page the 2019 calendar for active self-protection, because we travel all around the country and we would love to train with you as well. In addition to taking all these classes, I teach these classes, Stephanie teaches these classes, Neil teaches classes, her husband, and we'd love to train with you too. God bless you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.